I'm going to preview the Baylor versus number 14 St. John's men's basketball game, which will be played literally today at 3:30 p.m. Central Time on TruTV. Granted, it could be a little bit later but because of other games involved. And this is part of the Players Era Festival in Las Vegas, Nevada. Apologize for looking down because I cannot memorize all this stuff. And the spread's actually out for the game. St. John's by 6.5. It opened at 4.5, by the way. Obviously, Baylor's unbeaten still, 4-0. They did have a quality win against Creighton yesterday, 81-74. And they do have a quality win against Washington. Maybe hopefully they make NCAAs. I'm not saying they're going to win the Big Ten by any means, but still. Now, St. John's is 3-2, and their losses are to Alabama. Not a bad loss, and that game was at home for St. John's. And the other one was literally yesterday against Iowa State. That's number 15 in the country, 83-82. Now, I'm going to just mention this up front. I do not know whether or not J.J. White will even play for Baylor. He had a right foot injury. They said it was a discomfort on the broadcast, and he went to the locker room and never came back out. Or never played again. So that's one thing to note. And hopefully it's not a long-term thing because Baylor already has two guys. One of them is out for the year. The other one we just don't know about. The first one is obviously Michael Perez. He would have been a rotation player at Ford. And then there's Justin Bodo. Yeah, he had a wrist injury in the ATV accident a while back. Yeah. We'll have to wait and see. And we have to also wait and see if he's even going to redshirt this year. Because if he does, Baylor's definitely going to have to bring in another big guy. They're going to have to make a decision on him soon. Because the last thing you want to do is thrust a guy from an injury too quickly. And if it's a long-term injury for J.J. White, they might have to burn a red shirt on somebody. Might have to. I'm not saying they're going to, but you never know. Now, what are some guys to keep an eye on St. John's? And I'm really going to go over 9 players because they only played 9 players yesterday. It makes too much sense. And y'all could check out the outlook on St. John's men's basketball in the description below. The first guy is obviously a great story. He had a bad injury, knee injury, and now he's playing again more consistently, and that's Bryce Hopkins, number 23, 6'7", 225-pound forward. That's a senior, 15.6 points per game. Now, 26.7% on threes on 15 attempts, 72.2% on free throws on 36 attempts, 4.4 rebounds per game, 2.8 assists per game, 1.4 turnovers per game, 1 steal per game, 1.2 fouls per game. There's obviously Zuby Ejiofor, number 24, 6'9", 245-pound forward. That is a senior, 15.2 points per game, 2 for 5 on threes, and he tried 2 to 3 to tie the game yesterday against Iowa State late, and he didn't make it. Then St. John's did a putback, but Iowa State was smart not to get close or even touch him. Let him get the putback anyway. Okay, anyway, 64.7% on free throws on 34 attempts, 6.8 rebounds per game, 3.4 assists per game, 2.2 turnovers per game, 0.8 steals per game, 1 block per game, and 2 fouls per game. There's Ian Jackson, number 11, 6'5", 195-pound guard. That's a sophomore. Yeah, he went to North Carolina. If you don't know your college basketball here, that is a sophomore. Like I said, 12.4 points per game, 36.4% on threes on 22 attempts, 81.8% on free throws on 11 attempts, 2.4 rebounds per game, 1.6 turnovers per game, 1.4 fouls per game. There's Isaiah Sellers, number 4, a 6'5", 109-pound guard. That is a senior. 11 points per game, 47.1% on threes on 17 attempts. He had a lot yesterday against Iowa State, obviously, if he kept track. 84.6% on free throws on 13 attempts, 4.2 rebounds per game, 2.2 assists per game, 1.8 turnovers per game, 0.6 steals per game, 2 fouls per game. And he's honestly a guy that Baylor should recognize already because he was both at Texas and Cincinnati. And Cincinnati was more recent. And that's Dylan Mitchell, number 1, 6'8", 210-pound forward. That's a senior, 11 points per game, 0 for 3 on threes, 9 for 15 on free throws, 7 rebounds per game, 2 assists per game, 0.6 turnovers per game, 2.4 steals per game, 1.8 blocks per game, 1.6 fouls per game. And this next guy, Baylor should be familiar with too, because he was also in the Big 12. And that's Joseph Sanin. He was like at Arizona State last year, literally. Number 3, 6'5", 200-pound guard. That's a sophomore, 10.6 points per game, 42.9% on threes on 14 attempts, 81.3% on free throws on 16 attempts, 3 rebounds per game, 1.2 turnovers per game, 0.8 steals per game, 2.2 fouls per game. And that's literally 6 double-digit scores that they have already. Then there's Dylan Darling, number 0, 6'1", 175-pound guard. That's a junior. 6.3 points per game, 8.3% on threes on 12 attempts. And hopefully he doesn't start making threes on Baylor in this game. Hopefully not. 72.7% on free throws on 11 attempts, 3.3 rebounds per game, 4.3 assists per game, 2.3 steals per game, and 3.5 fouls per game. He fouled out yesterday, by the way. There's Ruben Prey, number 17, 6'10", 230-pound forward as a sophomore, 5.6 points per game, 4 for 8 on threes, 2 for 5 on free throws, 2.4 rebounds per game, 1 turnover per game, 1 steal per game, 0.6 blocks per game, and 2.4 fouls per game. And the last player I'm really going to mention is Lefterius Liotopoulos, Liotopoulos, number 31, 6'4", 195-pound guard. That's a sophomore, 3.5 points per game, 2 for 6 on threes, and 6 for 8 on free throws. Really, all the pressure is on St. John's going into this game. Let's be real. They're ranked. Not only that, they don't want to start 0-2. Because the last thing they want is to be 0-2 and then play somebody else that's also probably 0-2 at this point. And literally, Baylor won a game that they were favored in against Creighton, but still a quality win already. Whatever you did right last game, you got to bring in this game. Whatever you did wrong last game, you got to correct for this game. You got to limit your foul trouble, especially if there's no J.J. White for the game. That would really help yourself and honestly get them in foul trouble, especially their key guys on the team here. Because Darling is a true point guard for them. Yeah, he fouled out. They had to go with somebody else, try to find somebody else to be the point guard. You got to make adjustments on the fly, both offensively and defensively, not just from first half to second half, but during those halves. I mean, Baylor didn't make a ton of threes in the second half, so they went to the rim instead, and they were finishing and getting putbacks. And I know there might be some questionable calls during the game, but you got to be a mentally much tougher team and make plays to win. You can't be intimidated by the opponent. You can't be intimidated by the crowd and try to take the St. John's fans out of the game as much as possible and get your fans involved. Now, and of course, you got to be good in those late game situations, both offensively and defensively. Now, defensively, I would try to contain the shooters that they have. They're not known for their three-point shooting. So let's not start giving them like some easier looks that they can knock down. I'm not saying back off like 10 feet away, but at the same time, you got to contain the shooters that they have and contain the slashers. And obviously, if you need to go zone defense, that might be smart for this game to limit your foul trouble and make them shoot. And obviously, from like jump shots instead, or threes. Obviously, you got to get like box out and get the defensive rebound. You got to box out on free throws as well. of course. You got to limit the points in the paint as much as possible in transition, and the points out turnovers, and the second chance points, because that does make a difference in the game sometimes. Obviously, you need to create some turnovers because sometimes your best offense comes from your defense, or get a block shot, then go the other way for some transition. And speaking of offense, you got to get some points out turnovers. You got to take care of the ball because St. John's will pressure you. I'm just saying that right now based on their defense from what I saw. And even against Alabama, that other game I saw this year. I know they do that for sure. If the three-point shot is not going down, got to get to the rim and try. And if you could get to the free throw line, you got to make your free throws count. You can't lose focus in this type of game. You got to be good on your out-of-bounds plays, both offensively and defensively, and try to get some cleaner looks, whether it's like from a three-point line or drive to the basket or mid-range game. It doesn't really matter to me. And you gotta have your bench, two other bench players. Besides, who knows about JJ White? You gotta have your two other bench players step up in this type of game, especially Caden Powell against their bigs, and not to mention Isaac Williams as a backup guard. But still, you get the point. Also, you gotta have your key players step up as starters in this type of game. And another thing I forgot to mention on defense, don't give them any easy shots, period. Make them earn it with contests. So, we'll have to honestly wait and see what happens. And I expect St. John's to be very desperate for this game because they don't want to start this tournament 0-2. And Baylor has literally nothing to lose. Besides, like, their dignity, and this is going to be the first loss of the year. Because, seriously, if they really win this game, that would really raise a lot of eyebrows on this team. They already did that with the Creighton game already. So, really, all the pressure is on them. And beat the aggressor. And make them on the defense. And not vice versa. So, anyways, if you like this content, hit the like, subscribe, and see you guys later on the road. 800 subscribers, goals, ultimate goals, 1,000 more. So, my this liking video, comment video really helps YouTube algorithm. So more people see us. Sharing the video does help as well. So more people can watch. And if you're watching, and not subscribe, hit subscribe button for the notification bell as well. And I expect St. John's also to be very motivated on some of the returning players because of last year's game. So you gotta be ready for that. So let's go out there, give our best shot, see what happens.